Hello, my fellow Christian warriors. If that's not you, I hope to persuade you to be one someday. If that's not possible, then this video is not for you, so you can stop now. For those of you who remain, I'd like to start by sharing Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, which says, "Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest." God has commanded us to be strong and of good courage. And I want to talk to you about a piece of that, something that I do to try to be strong. I participate in a martial art. It's an old German tradition. It's a martial art that involves weaponry, swords, staff, spear, wrestling, dagger, short blades, all manner of weaponry. It's historical. It's fun. I love it. It's a good time. It's interesting to me to study the martial arts and the way that my ancestors trained and prepared to fight and to be strong. So I have enjoyed it for almost 20 years now, and I'll continue teaching it for a long time. I have some striking arts in my background too. I have black belts from McDojos from my childhood, but I really enjoy this martial art the most because it's very authentic. It's very real. I don't do what some people who study sword fighting and things like that do. I don't participate in sword tag or competitions. I don't do dress up. I'm studying the writings of men who trained with weapons to save their lives, to fight for their countries, and to be men. I study their methods. I study their teachings and I try to replicate it. I recreate it as part of my own practice here at my home, and I teach a class and I do it as a non-profit. There are some modern applications for this hobby of mine. There are improvised weapons, short blades, there's wrestling involved in it. There are ways of taking this martial art and using it in a modern context, and that maybe is part of a valid reason for why I do this. But let me share with you an additional reason. A man named George Silver, who is an Englishman, who's a contemporary of one of the martial artists that I study from the 1500s, he wrote and said, "The exercise of weapons puts away aches, griefs, and diseases. It increases strength, and it sharpens the wits. It gives a perfect judgment. It expels melancholy, choleric, and evil conceits. It keeps a man in breath, perfect health, and long life. It puts him out of fear, and in the wars and places of most danger, it makes him bold, hardy, and vigilant." Those are the words of George Silver from Paradoxes of Defense in 1599. The men that I train with, we meet together often. We do full contact free play, we get bruised, we bleed, we sweat, we laugh, and at the end of it all, we pick each other up and really have formed a brotherhood. We trust each other. It's a part of being a man, and it's a part of continuing the martial tradition that we study. One of my brothers, in studying this martial art, my brother in arms, told me that he notices he gets really depressed when too much time goes by, that he doesn't get to do this. He doesn't get to meet together with us and practice and train together. I've noticed that my normal exercise activities all of a sudden have a function and a purpose. I'm more motivated to exercise, and I have a reason to exercise, and I have exercise that makes sense because it's given purpose by my martial art. There are so many benefits and reasons why I really get so much from following this martial arts tradition. My message to you today is that every man needs this. Every man needs to have in his life some kind of a martial arts tradition. It doesn't have to be historical Western martial arts from the 1500s. It doesn't need to be jiu-jitsu. It doesn't need to be karate or Muay Thai or any of that stuff, but it needs to be something. Every man should be training himself in a form of a martial arts tradition. There are too many reasons not to. And as we have been commanded to make ourselves strong, we are going to be called on to protect, defend, to act like men, to be strong for a reason. We're told to uphold God's standards and face a world that hates us and our message. We were designed with an aptitude to fight as men. It is one of the talents that God gave us. And we have, in our culture, sort of been expected to hide it, to put it away, and to bury it. And just as in the parable of the 10 talents, we know what happens when we bury the gifts that God's given us. Our ability to fight as men is a gift from God, and it has a purpose and it needs to be used correctly. But it can't. If we bury it, we'll have it lost. We won't be able to fight when we're called on to, when we need to. It is so important that all men are pursuing a martial art tradition and training for martial arts in some way. You don't have an excuse not to do this. A little bit of martial arts training, just once a week or something to that effect, goes a long way. Being old does not exempt you from your requirement and your need to be as dangerous as you can. Be sure and subscribe to whatever feed it is on the platform that you're using so you can see our future content. This is just a primer. We plan on having a lot more martial arts related topics and content in the future. Be sure in the comments to let us know what kind of things you'd like us to talk about. My specialty is weapons, melee weapons, so if you want to learn how to be really nasty with a sharpened screwdriver that you're allowed to keep in the trunk of your car where you go, or you want to outright learn how to use a sword or maybe a club or an axe of some kind, whatever it is, let us know in the comments. We'd love to engage and give you content focused on the things that you guys think are interesting. Bottom line though, you have no excuse. Go do something. Don't just sit there. Make sure you're doing something. All right, everybody, take care. Until next time.